Hello and welcome back to my podcast. Thank you for being here. Today I'm going to talk about the missing piece about health that nobody talks about. So, as you might know, I'm a nutritional therapist and hypnotherapist. And so, passionately, I talk about food and nutrition and lifestyle and the nervous system. But there are other aspects to health, or that influence health rather, that I wanted to talk about today that are not food based. But they've been shown in research studies to influence longevity. And in the longevity studies, this is meaning that people who are living to a nice long life, they are living to an older than average age, and they're living healthily to the end of their days. So they're not just living to a long life, but propped up on medications, or they're still alive, but they're not very well. These are thriving adults, and so the research has been in these populations of people. So I wanted to share some of those sorts of aspects that we can all embrace. Some of them are free, so they're things that we can consider to adding if you're passionate about well-being, like I am. So let's start with the first one, and the first one is community and connection. So we are social beings. We are designed to be in a group. And actually, nowadays, society has become a very lonely place, and actually, loneliness is becoming more and more common. And it's something that has its health risks now likened to similar health risks to smoking, which is concerning because smoking is something that you could consciously do or not do. Being lonely is something that it's much more difficult to address that, isn't it? But connection and community are some things that we could maybe take action around. So, connection to others, and that includes healthy relationships. So, fostering healthy relationships is something perhaps we need to think about in terms of, are all our relationships healthy? Are there certain people that you spend time with that you come away from and you feel a little bit drained? You feel perhaps that they are not a good influence on you, or perhaps they are a little bit draining to be around. So, although you can't, I'm not suggesting at all that you cut people out of your life or, shun people in any way. It might be worth thinking about the energy that you give to people, consciously spending time with those people who are more like lifting you up, and maybe just spending a little less time with people who make you feel a little bit unhappy or drained, within reason. Um, and perhaps addressing relationships that are not healthy, perhaps seeking some support, guidance, counseling, and so on. If relationships are good, perhaps thinking about joining communities in like a wider sense. It could be just a social group, maybe a hobby, even just joining a class. Like I I do a Pilates class on a Monday, and we don't socialize that much together, but I do always enjoy saying hi to the other people in the class and seeing them every Monday. It's like a sort of little routine of mine. So it could be something simple like that. My dance class on a Friday, there's some really lovely people there as well. And Danella, who's the host of the class, she tries to get people together for coffee once a month, which I'm often not doing because I'm running off to work. But things like that can make a huge difference. So that was number one. Number two is a little bit different, and this is my own. This isn't from the research on longevity, but this is my own suggestion, and that is limiting toxic chemicals and things that you're exposed to that might be a little bit less natural, and chemicals around us, because I think we're rather saturated with them at the moment. And apparently, the foods that we're eating now are sprayed with so many more pesticides and chemicals than there were years ago. So I'm not saying that to be scaremongering, because I really don't like that kind of fear mongering approach on social media at all. But just having that kind of conscious awareness of the chemicals, maybe if it's not food based, but more like the chemicals that you use around you. A good example of that is if you have a lot of fragrances around the home. So anything that has a fragrance will have some sort of chemical element to it. And even though you might not be using it on your body or in your body, you will be still absorbing that chemical through breathing it in, and the chemical will come in through breathing it in through the lungs, and then through be absorbed through the lungs and goes into the bloodstream and has to be processed by the liver. So it can contribute towards toxic burden. So I'm suggesting that you think about, have you got lots and lots of chemical air fresheners all around the house or in your car? You're using lots and lots of products around the home, because if that is you, it can really burden the liver. And this is really relevant for people who want to balance their hormones, just generally for life. We've got to look after our livers, and reducing our exposure to chemicals is a really good place to start. So start by eliminating unnecessary chemicals that you don't need. So of course you're going to need certain chemicals for cleaning and all the rest of it, but try and keep things as minimal and natural as you can. Likewise, the chemicals that you use on yourself. So I'm not suggesting that you give up makeup and all the rest of it. I also use chemicals. I color my hair. It's one of those things that, although I am quite sort of into natural things and natural ways and natural beauty, I just can't let go of that at this point. So I kind of make other compromises. So I rarely have my nails painted. So once a year when I go on holiday, have my nails painted, my toenails. But I limit that because nail varnish is really, it's quite toxic. However, if painting your nails is one of your joys in life, brings you pleasure, then don't give that up. Maybe think of something else. Like, do you need to wear your perfume every day? Do you need to wear scented body lotion every day? So maybe think about something that you could just reduce a little bit, just to lower that toxic burden. Water, thinking about that, so filtering your water. Now, this is a big subject and it's too big for today. So perhaps I might need to do a podcast about water filtering. To be honest, I haven't completely landed on the solution to that. I think we do need to filter our water, but there's lots and lots of different discussions around to what extent you filter your water. But I think filtering it in some capacity is important, because although tap water is safe to drink, it has been shown that it has a lot of residues that can accumulate. And yes, it's got traces of chlorine and fluoride and things that we don't really want to have in too much in the body. So filtering your water is another thing to think about. If that's not an option for you, perhaps think about purchasing more organic fruits and vegetables. Or if that's not an option, which I know it's very expensive and actually it's hard to get hold of these things, is washing your fruit and vegetables a little bit of bicarbonate of soda, just to try and get rid of some of those residues of pesticides. So that's the exposure to chemicals. So reducing them in the home environment, particularly highly fragranced chemicals or products, reducing the products you might use on yourself, filtering your water if you can. If you can purchase organic food and fruits and vegetables, wonderful. But if you can't, don't worry about that. Just do what you can in terms of what you can buy, and maybe just a little bit more of a wash of the fruit and vegetables to limit those pesticides. Let me see what's on my list for what else I wanted to say. Oh yes, light exposure. So probably have talked to you about this before because it's such a passionate subject of mine. But getting outside has numerous benefits, doesn't it? Because I think probably everybody knows that being out in nature is good for us. We know that there are certain negative ions around in the plants, the trees, the electromagnetic frequencies of the earth. They all help to sort of help us to be healthy. There's research that shows that walking in woodlands, forest bathing, as they call it in Japan, grounding, bare feet on the earth and all that sort of thing, just being in a green space has been shown to lower blood pressure, markers of inflammation. So we know that being out in nature is very calming, it's very good for our bodies. So that's something that is good about being outside. But the actual light itself is really important. I'm not talking about vitamin D. We can talk about that another time. This is something different to that. This is about the different light frequencies and about how they send messages to our body, to our brains, that tell us how to function. You've probably heard of the circadian rhythm, and actually that's our body clock. But we actually have lots of mini body clocks all around the different systems. But just to put it very sort of simply, the body clock is about knowing when we're awake, knowing when it's time to go to sleep, and therefore the body knows at what time of day to release certain hormones, enzymes, and so on. It helps us with digestion, which is relevant to me because I am specialize in digestive health. So it can really support your digestion in the morning. So getting outside as soon as you wake up, as soon as you can, to get a little bit of morning light really help to keep resetting this circadian rhythm. It can really help with digestion, but it can really help with energy levels, and it can also help with sleep. So you might think, well, why does the light in the morning help with sleep? But actually what it does is it tells the body, tells the brain, it's morning now, therefore 12 hours time, we're going to start dialing down some of the cortisol. We're going to start increasing the melatonin for preparation for sleep. So it is really important. So do try and make that one of your regular practices, is to get out into natural daylight, even if it is a cloudy day. That we see in England all the time, although at the moment in England we're having a very, very long heat wave. Even on a cloudy day, the brightness, being outside is actually enough to really give that message. It's actually much brighter than you think. And then likewise, to complement that, think about the lighting you're using in your home in the evening. So we could deep dive into that. Conventional light bulbs that we used to use, incandescent light bulbs, have lots of different light frequencies on them that were much, much better for our health than these new LED lights that are everywhere now. Everywhere you go, it's pretty much all that's available. The LED lights have different light sort of colors in them, much more blue and green, less red, and can help actually block melatonin production, which isn't very good for sleep. But melatonin is also a huge antioxidant. It plays a huge role in health. So actually the lighting that we're exposed to in the evenings from our own homes, from our devices, our phones, laptops, iPads and TVs and things, all helps to interfere with the signaling in the brain that tells us it's time to sleep, it's time to produce all the right hormones and chemicals at that time of day. So I would urge you just to dim the lights a little bit more, perhaps put in your dim the screen on your devices, perhaps even limit the devices at bedtime, dim the lights around the home, because that can really support your good health and well-being. And the last one I was going to mention, so these are all really different. The last one is purpose. Now, before you start thinking, oh gosh, purpose, I can't be doing with that, I'm not going to be saving the world. I don't mean that. I don't mean that you need to be setting yourself this really high level standard of, I'm going to, set up my own charity, or I'm, saving everybody. It's not quite that high. It's more of a reason. A purpose is just a reason to get out of bed in the morning. So if you are struggling from mental health problems, you might struggle with that. But generally speaking, it has been shown that people with a strong sense of purpose live longer and healthier lives. So this purpose doesn't have to be, oh, I've been put on this planet to, help others. It doesn't have to be that noble. It can just be a very simple thing like, I'm here to live my best life, or I'm here to be the best mum I can be, or, I'm here to be the best sister or friend, or whatever applies to you. So it doesn't have to be some kind of selfless act, this sense of purpose, but a reason for being has been shown in the research to really help with general well-being. Now, to help cultivate that sense of well-being, it doesn't, again, as I say, it doesn't have to be charity work, or although saying that, charity work, volunteering has been shown in the research to really help with longevity and happiness and contentment. But it doesn't have to be that. But it could be something like an interest, a hobby, something that just, it keeps you interested. So maybe that's something to think about. Just a little hobby, something that keeps you interested, something that keeps you wanting to get up in the morning, even if it's something quite small. So those are a few suggestions for things that are supporting well-being, things that are supporting longevity, not to do with food. And I wonder how many of those things resonate with you. Hope you enjoyed the episode. Please like and comment and share, and I'll see you again at the next one.